Happy you brought that up because to let you know, I mean, deaf people aren't all the same. There's a whole diversity to deaf range. Some people sign very well, and some people barely sign and they speak and they can hear well.
Right.
There's deaf and hard of hearing people. So, my background, I was adopted with a hearing family, and they taught me to sign, and I picked it up myself growing up from a small, again, Duluth, it's a small town. But Niall, he was born to a deaf family. He went to a deaf school, so he's a strong in his deaf culture and his deaf identity. So we were very.
Ended up being a 6 hour operation, and it was on Valentine's Day. So, I mean, every Valentine's Day I say to Macy, you got the gift of hearing.
When I listen to music, it goes straight through to my cochlear implants.
Via the microphones.
Through a cord up to the external magnet.
On the other side, there's a magnet inside my head, and then it goes through
Auditory nerve, brain. If you think of picture on TV and how it's pixelated, same frequency, sound for the ear.
important thing for deaf people is we do like a lot of bass. Whether the lyrics are good or not isn't so important to whether I can dance and feel it. You know, a lot of times I feel it in my chest. You know, I feel it in my heart. I feel it all through my torso, and also feel it coming up my legs as well. You know, it's not enough just to feel the vibration coming up from the floor, but you want to feel it throughout the whole body. You know, the famous quote, deaf people can do anything except hear, and people say, but music's all about hearing, so it doesn't make sense to apply that quote, but it works.
So yeah, Woodrow really does make your experience pretty goddamn breathtaking. There's some stereo sound.
Seven Up and I today try to find every way possible for deaf people to experience music in an even more intense way. Emotion, vibration, visual-wise. And I got in this room, I stepped on one of those vibrating platforms and they played a note and I got scared. They gave me a backpack on which like vibrates the music, which makes the vibration stronger, and it's super cool actually. For me, I've been thinking about which songs I should play, which songs I love the lower frequencies, which songs have like good drive in it.
She say she can't come outside today. That means she's scared, right? I be put up in the winter, in the summer, pop out every night, bragging on this nigga top. I see a little silhouette over my Scaramouche when you do the bomb.
He got a beard, I'm trying to wet it. I want to kiss, now he got it better. I don't want to spit, I want to go, I want to gag, I want to choke, I want to.
Good. Thank you. Good. Now, we have to talk about the Super Bowl, of course. As much attention, you received as much attention as Rihanna did for your pregame and halftime performance. I just watched you, basically. We know that the National Association of the Deaf reached out to you about the opportunity to sign at the Super Bowl pregame and halftime shows.
Justina, you call yourself a deaf performer and not an interpreter for the deaf. Can you explain the difference to us?
Yes, I can. An interpreter is more like they're certified, and it's a lot of professional and technicalities in it. Like they have to sign proper or whatever. But the deaf performer, the deafness, the deaf performer, the deaf word, it brings the authenticity. So I'm bringing the authenticity, I'm bringing the culture, the history, everything that's included in being deaf. An interpreter can be hearing, can be coda, could be deaf, could be anything. So with a deaf performer, I'm signing my native language, my home signs, whatever it is, and I'm bringing it to the audience.
And that she did at the Super Bowl was a performance. Yeah.
After listening to the beat and how their tonality is and all the instruments, then what I do is I break it down from English to ASL.
So rhyming, metaphor, and wordplay are an intrinsic part of lyrical music, especially hip-hop. So how do you translate that to a visual form of communication?
So you'll see my lower sounds are lower put here, and then my higher sounds go up. And you'll see my facials move to that. So I'm like bow, wow, like the wow, wow, wow. So you'll see that bow, wow, and then I show this to show the waviness.
When I was 15, I taught my brother how to dance. His name, Keita, 3rd grade. He was on So You Think You Can Dance TV show. He want that show. Ooh, proud. He learned from a deaf brother.
And you got Suki. Oh. You what?
We deaf.
You deaf?
We feel the music.
Oh, you feel the music?
Yeah.
You got friends, you hop out and you hop in. I fly and they jock in. The way you drop makes me friends, you got friends, you hop out and you hop in. I fly and they jock in. The way you drop makes me wanna pop. 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 The way you drop makes me.
As hard as it get, I do not store powder. I might take a sip, I might hit the blunt, but I'm liable to trip. I ain't popping no pill, but you do as you wish.
I was trapping, not Toyotas. I'ma hit the gas. 12 can't pull me over. Space, coupe, Quavo, Yoda, pouring, drinking soda.
Oh, she's deaf.
Yes, I am. I'm deaf.
So today, Fletcher, you are going to be explaining music to Cheyenne.
Oh, that's hard. You go first, Helena. Music is loud. Actually, it's hard to explain. If anyone has a guitar.
Oh, you want a guitar?
Yep.
We got a guitar.
Oh.
Well, music is basically a rhythm that is either passionate or graceful or rough.
See, if I were to explain rock music, I would use one color, and that one color would be red, because red reminds me a lot of like explosion and fire.
Nice, yeah.
Can you feel that?
Yeah. Okay, I'm wondering if both of you could maybe draw a picture of what sound sounds like.
Let's do EDM.
Okay. So what I thought of when listening to that was a messed up flower and a robot.
The first thing I drew was a circuit board. It kind of has that glitchy effect where it goes from one note to another, like really quickly. Can you hear this?
No, I can't hear it.
Can you touch this and then, can you feel that?
Oh, I feel that.
Does this feel
Yeah.
different than that?
Yes, I feel the difference between each side.
Just your lips on the inside, put them together like this.
Like you're
and then
kissing
go.
It feels very light and feathery. Hey, do you guys want to feel the music like I do, like deaf
Yes.
people
Yes.
do? So do you think we could enjoy music by just feeling it?
Maybe no, maybe yes. Because I want to really listen to the song.
Do you wish you could hear the voices?
No, I don't really desire to hear that. I'm really happy with who I am and how I enjoy music. It's just different than the way that you do.
I can't lie. Looked up the guy, man, I pull out and I'm safe now. Cause I ain't looking for no handout, nah, go out. They laugh at
tick tock, waste time I will not. Snooze and I lose, you know, this day I will rock. Cause I can see now.
Bottom is scary, you've never been before. Ooh, 'cause it's like a bomb. Long gone. Gone like a bomb. Gotta keep it under control. Gone like a bomb. Start a power, I'm about to explode.
Who likes to play?
There's not much you can do as a DJ if you can't hear.
I don't really know what he was doing.
He was in a very dark place.
It was like a flat line.
And he went off to a quiet place. Although I suppose that wouldn't make much difference.
Your hearing is deteriorating rapidly.
I can't hear you. Do you understand me? I can't. I'm deaf. I'm deaf.
We're looking for a solution to this. Not this. This crappy, mundane world suddenly becomes radiant and magnificent. All the fear is gone. That place will never abandon.